Hello, and welcome to
Papi, your favorite movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
In our podcast, we'll review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every other week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which, of course, they will.
Today we're going to be watching The Da Vinci Code.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
press pause and come back when you're finished. Now Papi tell you the deets on this movie.
Okay. How you doing, Nat?
Good.
Da Vinci Code came out in 2006 with a runtime of 2 hours and 26 minutes. It's streaming on Hulu. It was written by Akiva Goldsman, based on the novel by Dan Brown, and directed by Ron Howard. Main stars are Tom Hanks, Audrey Tautou, and Jean Reno. Fun facts, this book was very controversial. Both Mom and I read the books and a couple of the sequels and prequels to it, and Grandma loved it. She had all the books by Dan Brown in Spanish. So what did you think of the movie?
I thought it was great.
You did? You thought it was great?
Yeah. I like National Treasure is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Right.
And it was very similar to National Treasure.
People were saying that it wasn't, and by people I mean Sofie and your mom saying that it wasn't very similar. I thought it was pretty similar. That's why when I chose the movie, I thought you would like it.
They even had the cryptic.
Oh, they had a cryptex in National Treasure.
Yeah.
There you go. I never even heard of a cryptex until I read this book.
I'm a National Treasure fan. When I hear like a guy named Riley, I'm like, oh, National Treasure.
And you have a friend named Riley. That's kind of funny. What do you rate it?
I rate it 4.5 stars.
Pretty good, pretty good. Tom Hanks he's a hit maker. He's a hit maker. The guy makes a lot of good movies. So
who's Tom Hanks?
He's Forrest Gump. He's a Man Called Otto. He's Robert Langdon in this movie, the main character.
I don't know who that is.
Tom Hanks, the actor. Forrest Gump.
He's the youngin' in that movie.
Well, he's older in 2006. He just had longer hair. I don't know.
I don't understand.
What don't you understand? You don't know who Tom Hanks is.
It's not him.
This is Tom Hanks. This is the actor who played A Man Called Otto. He's Luchador Abuelo Otto.
No, it's not the same.
All right. Woody from Toy Story? Okay. Whatever.
Wait. What?
I mean, we haven't done Toy Story for the pod, but you've seen Toy Story. Woody, the voice of Woody is Tom Hanks.
I don't believe it.
4.5 stars. Okay, I think it was pretty good.
I can't believe that it's Tom Hanks.
The whole movie, you didn't see that the main character, who probably spoke the most out of everybody in any movie of all time, because there was a lot of exposition, a lot of talking. You didn't recognize him as Tom Hanks.
Not at all. I was like, oh, who's this new actor?
Who's this new actor? Okay. Audrey Tautou. I don't think she's seen a lot of her stuff. She's a French lady. And Jean Reno.
I've been having like an actor confusion crisis recently. Like,
you didn't know it was Tom Hanks. I mean, the dude looks exactly the same.
But I was like, oh, like for She's All That.
Yeah.
The guy, I was like, oh, that's the guy from Another Cinderella Story. And I kept thinking that. And then the guy from Another Cinderella Story is like Joe Seeley or John Seeley or whatever. Uh-huh. And I'm like, it's a completely different person and they don't look that alike at all. And I was so confused because I was like so convinced it was the same man.
When do we have your ophthalmologist appointment? Maybe we need to move it up because you're obviously having a hard time seeing with your glasses right now. Did you watch the movie with your glasses on? Maybe not. I don't know.
Why don't we get into the recap?
All right. The movie begins with a courier of the Louvre, Saunier. He's running for his life. He's being chased by a man wearing a monk outfit. The monk, Silas, catches up to him and holds him at gunpoint, asking about an artifact. Saunier tells him where to look, then Silas shoots him in the stomach. Before he dies, Saunier gets up and walks about the museum, leaving clues. You don't think he could have called 911?
Yeah, I guess he wouldn't want to leak the secrets.
No, but No, I'm saying, why couldn't he call 911 instead of walking around dropping clues everywhere?
Maybe you don't got a phone.
There's a phone at the Louvre. It's a huge museum. You don't think they have phones there? And then, is there no guards that work at the Louvre?
I don't know. They were probably also killed.
Maybe.
But what I'm most confused about is that he gets shot in the stomach. Why did his head like recoil like that? I was so confused because then I was like, later in the movie, they're like, oh, he left a bunch of clues. How? He got shot in the head. I thought it was like an instant death. But apparently he got shot in the stomach. But he like jostled his head back like he got shot in the head, and I was so confused.
I also thought he got shot in the head, but then when he started moving around and bleeding from the stomach, I figured out they just had.
Well, they didn't show him moving around.
They did. They showed him going place to place. He was walking around the Louvre to leave the clues. You see him shuffling around the place.
I didn't see that at all.
Well, it was a scene in the movie, maybe.
They showed the clues later, and then the guy was like, oh my goodness, he was walking around. They didn't show him walking around.
So we usually go to Costco for glasses. So if Costco can sponsor us for new glasses here, maybe you can pay attention a little better. And maybe you were writing notes during like the 5 scenes that shows him walking around, but okay.
I'm so confused.
It was confusing. I thought he got shot in the head too. The way he acted looked like he got shot in the head. But then it did show that he got shot in the stomach. He was holding his belly.
Horrible actor.
Yeah. Sonia. Terrible actor. Next, we meet Robert Langdon, played by Tom Hanks. Family favorite. 5-star award-winning. Part of the best movie franchise for Natalie of all time, Forrest Gump. I guess it's not really a franchise, just one movie.
Awkward.
He's making a speech about symbols, and he's promoting his latest book in Paris. After his lecture, he's approached by a French secret agent named Lieutenant Collet. He thinks that Langdon can help him with a crime scene. Langdon agrees to go. Meanwhile, Silas calls his boss, the teacher, and tells him all 4 members are dead. Then he tortures himself with a belt and whips himself. Silas then calls Bishop Arenegarosa about knowing the location of the artifact. Arenegarosa calls a meeting of the secret church council. All this stuff is a little too much. I think the bishop was an added part of the story that just kind of made it a little too much.
I didn't understand what purpose he had.
Right.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't really. He was kind of behind everything, but then he was being played by the teacher, which we find out who it is later. The movie was 2 hours and 26 minutes long. As I watched it, I didn't feel that it was long. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is a long movie. I remember when we put it on, I thought, ooh, we may not finish it in one showing. It was already kind of late. But then we ended up watching it even past your bedtime.
And that's what shows that I actually liked it. Because usually when it gets close to my bedtime and we're watching a movie, I just end up falling asleep because I get confused and bored.
Especially when this movie, it was pretty confusing. There's a lot to it. And I think the fact that I had read the book beforehand made it a lot easier for me to enjoy it the first time. It is a lot of talking, a lot of exposition.
The most confusing part was just him getting shot in the head. I still can't look past that.
At the crime scene, Langdon meets Captain Foch, who takes him to see Saunier's body. Saunier is dead, with a pentagram carved into his chest. He's also inside a circle shaped like the Vitruvian Man. Foch shows Langdon a message Saunier had left on the floor. Officer Sofie Neveu joins them to help analyze the message.
Actually, I started getting confused here as well, because when the guy comes up to him, he like shows him a picture of the body, and then he's like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And then the guy's like, would you believe he did this to himself? And I got so confused because I was like, no, he didn't. Like, he didn't kill himself. Like, he got shot. And they kept making me think that the guy was like, oh, yeah, he like killed himself this way. But he actually wasn't saying that at all. He was just saying that he was like, did whatever to his body. But I was so confused. I was like, when did all that happen? Like, Silas just left. And I was like, wait, are they trying to frame it like he killed himself? Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah, I can see the confusion there because he did say he did it to himself. And he did do it. He did do the pentagram and he did do the circle around him as a Vitruvian Man, but he didn't kill himself.
The way that the guy said it made me think that, like, he believed he killed himself. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Officer Sofie Neveu shows up to help analyze the message. On the message is the Fibonacci numbers and a riddle. Then she tells Langdon she has a number for him to call. He calls, and the message is from her telling him he's in danger. So, like, that was kind of smart. secret way to talk to him without Foch knowing. Langdon excuses himself to go to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Sofie tells him that his name was on the message and Foch had erased it before he got there. They think he killed Saunier and they will arrest him soon. She also tells him that Saunier was her grandfather and her name was also on the message. She then tells him he has a tracker in his jacket. Sofie tells Langdon to ditch the tracker, so he throws it onto a nearby tour bus, and Foch and his men chase after him. Well, really, they chase the tracker. Meanwhile, they decode the message, and it tells them to go to the Mona Lisa. At the Mona Lisa, they see another message. They decode that one, and it leads them to a key with a fleur-de-lis symbol on it. Then they notice an address on the key and leave before the cops come back. So the Mona Lisa is there at the Louvre. I went there. I visited the Louvre in Paris, France. Grandma went several times. She really loved all those museums. She really loved Paris. And it's pretty cool. It's small, but it's really protected.
The Mona Lisa is very small looking.
It's small, but it's not that small, but it's not that big either.
Because you would think it would be like a huge portrait, like how they did portraits back in the olden days. But apparently it's small, I heard.
I mean, there's huge. That's a beautiful museum. And the Mona Lisa wasn't the most beautiful picture there. It's just probably the most famous, But I would say it's small, but not as small as people say. It's not like a picture postcard. It's not like a, like 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. But you have to see it from far away because there's like stuff that covers it, like a plexiglass cover. Well, it may be different by now. This was 25 years ago when I went. And then they also have like stanchions, so you can't even get close to it. So you have to see it from far. And on top of that, there's 47,000 people there. So they're all up in your grill. And you can barely get to the front or even near it because it's so crowded. Silas goes to St. Sulpice Church because of what Saunier said before he died. He calls the bishop, who in turn calls a nun to let him in. He goes to where he thinks the artifact is, and it's a dead end. The nun calls Saunier, and when Silas sees she's calling him, he kills the nun and leaves. Poor nun.
I also didn't understand the whole Silas thing where he keeps giving himself penance or whatever, but then he continues killing people.
Yeah, because he's working for God's plan and his idea, but he also wants to suffer the way God suffered. They didn't really say that he was punishing himself as much as he just wanted to grow closer to God.
Well, he kept saying oh, this is my penance.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah.
Because Robert Langdon said the reason he's probably using that belt, with barbed wire that's ripping into his skin, is so he could be tortured like Jesus, in the same pain or closer to Jesus that way. Which makes no sense because Jesus wouldn't want that penance. But
I don't understand why killing people would make him closer to Jesus though.
No, I think he knows he's doing wrong. I think his plan is to be as close to Jesus as possible, but I think he thinks he's working for Jesus' cause. He's on Team Jesus, which unfortunately you have to do bad things, right? That's what he thinks.
Because I was very confused about what was going on with him.
Yeah. Langdon thinks the fleur-de-lis key may be affiliated with the Priory of Sion. They're a secret religious organization dating back centuries. They were originally known as the Knights Templar. In the past, they were entrusted with the search of the Holy Grail. The Knights supposedly found the Holy Grail, and the church killed them for it to get it back. The church never retrieved it, and it's said to this day that the Priory still has the Holy Grail and they're keeping it safe. But Langdon is dubious and doesn't believe any of that stuff.
I would too. It seems kind of conspiracy theory.
Well, all of it is, right?
But, he knows a bunch about symbols, and then, those aren't usually conspiracy theory. I feel all these symbols, his whole job is being oh, they have a historical reason, and then they turn into conspiracy theories.
Bishop Aringarosa meets with the council of his religious leaders, saying they need to pay the teacher $20 million to get the Holy Grail back in the church's hands. They don't want to pay, but are convinced by him at the end, and they agree. That's the other thing. Why is the teacher even involved? They could have just paid Silas, who's going to get the grail for them.
Yeah, because Silas is just going to kill anyone.
Langdon and Sofie go to the address on the key. It's a sophisticated secret bank. They get a safety deposit box, and inside is a small box with a cryptex inside. A cryptex is a password-protected cylinder that will destroy whatever's inside if it's dropped. The cops come, but Sofie and Langdon are able to escape when the bank manager, Vernet, smuggles them out. Vernet eventually betrays them and asks for the cryptex. They attack him and escape and drive away in his van. Langdon believes that Saunier was a part of the priory and thinks he was grooming Sofie to be a member. We find out that she was raised by her grandpa after her parents were killed in a car accident. Langdon knows he is out of his element and he calls on an old friend, Lee, for help. Lee is a Holy Grail expert. What'd you think of Lee?
He was a little cuckoo, but he was rich.
He was rich and very, very knowledgeable about all of this.
Yeah, which I figured he had some kind of affiliation, considering he knew so much about it.
You know, because they said the priory has 4 members, a grand person, and then 3 underlings. But then there were hundreds of people that worked for them. Like the nun worked for them, right?
Yeah.
The people at the church at the end worked for them. So it's not just one member. Why is he not part of their priory?
Yeah. So I was like, he must have some affiliation or something.
Yeah. They get to Lee's house and he tells them about the Holy Grail. He shows them a painting of the Last Supper and explains that the Holy Grail isn't a cup. It's Mary Magdalene herself. He claims that she and Jesus were married and had a child. The secret the priory is hiding is Mary Magdalene's remains and Jesus' descendants who may be alive to this day. Both would destroy people's faith in the church.
My question is, doesn't Jesus have remains?
Well, no. He went to heaven.
But, isn't he buried somewhere?
No. And on the 3rd day, he rose again. Come on, child. He's walking around. They opened the crypt. It was empty. Hello. There's no remains of Jesus. The dude went to heaven.
Oh. Because, I thought he would have, floated up and his body would be on the floor still.
Oh, I see what you mean. His spirit just went up and then he, dropped his body off at the supermarket?
Yeah, it's just left on the floor.
I don't think so.
Because I was going to say, this is stupid. Why don't they just go to Jesus' corpse and get his DNA?
We just went through Easter last week. We're in the season of Easter. What are you doing right now telling me that you don't know that Jesus... He wasn't in the crypt. You get that, right?
In the cucaracha.
In the cucaracha. He wasn't in the cucaracha either. He's up.
No, but he could have left and talked to a bunch of people and then been like, all right, I'm going to go to heaven now. And then just walked back in the tomb and ascended.
Well, there is the Shroud of Turin where he has his face on the wrapping that he's on. So maybe he has his DNA in there.
Or can they find the cross?
Yeah, I have a cross. There's one right there in the room, right?
No, the cross. I'm sure his blood is on it.
Sure, the thorns, right? The crown of thorns.
There's some Jesus DNA out there that they could have tested.
It might. The priory is hiding that information right now.
No,
the real priory, because not the one in the movie.
They're all oh, we need to find Mary Magdalene to see if there's a child descendant of Jesus. Well, don't you need Jesus's DNA?
You would think, right? Because
if Mary Magdalene has a child, what difference does that make? How would you know if it's God's son unless you had Jesus's DNA as well?
Yeah. Good point.
So Mary Magdalene has it doesn't matter at all.
Yes.
You only need Jesus's DNA to see if Jesus had a descendant. Otherwise, if you just have Mary's DNA, Mary could have married and had kids with any other man.
Right. Yeah, I can see it. Kind of like a plot hole a little bit. I do wonder how
there's no need for Mary Magdalene.
Well, according to this movie, she had Jesus' baby.
I know, but I'm saying it doesn't matter.
And the priory took care of that baby.
Finding her doesn't matter, though. It's finding Jesus's DNA and tracking that down to a live being is what matters.
Okay.
Because she could have had a child with anyone, and then they could just say that was Jesus, but obviously no one's going to believe it as true. Everyone thought she was a horrible woman anyways. They were like, oh, she's a prostitute or whatever. That could have been anyone's child in the view of everyone else.
The police and Silas find that Langdon and Sofie are at Lee's house. Silas gets there first, but is stopped and tied up. Then the police show up, and Robert, Sofie, Lee, Remy, Lee's butler, and Silas escape. They take a plane to England after Langdon decodes a riddle that he finds in the box containing the cryptex. Meanwhile, Bishop Arenagarosa and the teacher are planning to do a money exchange in London. Langdon and the crew get to England and go to Temple Church. Remy lets Silas go and holds Sofie hostage. Langdon gives up the cryptex and he and Sofie run away. Remy fools Silas into thinking he's the teacher and tells Silas to go to where the money exchange will happen. Then Remy is killed by Lee, who we find out is the real teacher.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I thought it was weird he didn't kill Silas the first time.
Remy?
No, Lee.
He didn't really need him, did he?
Yeah, and he was ready to kill for this artifact. Why wouldn't he just shoot Silas?
Or better yet, just leave him tied up when the police came.
Yeah, it didn't make sense that he brought him along.
Yeah, because he didn't need him at that point.
Yeah, so I even wrote before I knew, because I didn't suspect that he was the teacher. I just thought that he was like some dude affiliated. But I didn't know necessarily he was a teacher. But I put, it's a little weird that he didn't just kill or leave Silas in my notes.
Yeah, it's weird that they brought him because there was no reason to bring him. Because if he would have got arrested, he would have got the cryptex and he could have just like dogged out Bishop Aaron Garosa. Like,
I guess for the moment where Sofie like slaps him or whatever.
I guess. But even then,
it's not that big of a moment.
Yeah. Lee calls the police and tells them where the money exchange will happen. Langdon and Sofie go to the library and find out where Mary Magdalene's sarcophagus may be. Meanwhile, Aringarosa and Silas meet at the exchange house and are ambushed by the police. Silas is killed and Aringarosa is arrested. Langdon and Sofie get to another church and see Lee. He holds them at gunpoint and tells them to open the cryptex. Langdon tries and says he can't and throws it in the air. Lee tries to catch it, but it falls and breaks.
I want to talk about this moment because I hated it. And I'm going to talk about it later.
Then the police come in and arrest Lee. Afterwards, Langdon shows Sofie the scroll. He was able to open it, but he hid it from Lee. Robert and Sofie decode the scroll and go to Roslyn Chapel. There, they don't find Mary Magdalene's remains, but do find proof that Sofie is a descendant of Jesus Christ. Then other priory members, including her grandma, come to meet her. Langdon leaves and tells her the future is in her hands, and she goes with her new family. Later that night, Langdon starts rethinking the riddle on the box and follows different clues. He gets to the location he thinks the tomb may be, under the pyramids in the Louvre. He bows and prays, and the camera pans out, and we see that Mary Magdalene's sarcophagus is indeed there. The end. I like that ending. I thought it was clever. I thought it was cool. He got to it, but he left it there. And then you know that they're going to probably restart the priory, start 4 new people, and they're going to protect Sofie, who should have children immediately. Because if she dies by some terrible accident like her parents did, then there's a possibility that Jesus' descendant in the story are dead, right?
But wouldn't that be better? Because then they're not worried about someone constantly getting murdered.
No. You would want Jesus to have future descendants, right? All right, could this movie still be made today?
Yeah.
Yeah, not too many things that are... in the political climate, I think it would probably be just the same. I don't know if people are more Christian/Catholic now than they were in 2006. I would think it would still be hated.
I think it would be around the same.
Mm-hmm.
I have something to say.
Oh, please. I can't wait to hear your comments. And is it because you are a Catholic and you're going to hate this story because it's anti all things we believe in?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So, in the whole movie, Sofie keeps getting held hostage, which is kind of a given because she's kind of always there. And they're always going to they're going to have Silas hold her at gunpoint throughout this movie. They're going to have some other dude, I don't remember who. Remy hold her at gunpoint. So she's the hostage. And I even put this girl keeps getting held hostage, which I think is fine. But part of the movie is that she was secretly trained by her grandfather to be a future member of the priory. And that she has all this training and she used to have a cryptic of her own.
Right.
In the end, when they're like, oh, you have to solve the cryptic, he gives it to her and is like, solve it. You have to solve it or else I'm going to kill him. And then she's like, can't do it. And they just give it to him and he solves it and they held her at gunpoint almost to formulate a whole damsel in distress situation.
Okay.
That makes no sense because they threw out the whole plot line of her having training from her grandfather. I think it would have been so cool if the training had kicked in and she figured out how to solve the cryptics, and she could have done the same thing, same trick where she like hid the thing. It didn't matter who did it, and it would make so much more sense for her to solve the cryptics because she has the training for it.
Sure.
And they just changed it that way, I think, just to make her a damsel in distress.
Yeah, no, I get it. Because I don't think there's at any point where she helped solve anything based upon the fact that she was trained by her grandpa.
And I think that it was a good plot line. Like, I think it would have worked really well.
Right. Like, she could have been like, she could have pictured her grandpa and then like had a flashback moment. They did do little flashbacks, actually a lot throughout the movie. And she could have like looked back and thought, oh, my grandpa was, because the cryptex go with Apple, because it was connected to Isaac Newton. And so she could have had something where she thought about that.
And they even brought up, especially considering the fact that they brought up she had a cryptex when she was younger that he made for her. It makes perfect sense that she would be the one to open it. And they just had this guy like think it up for just because he's smart and like save the damsel in distress who's held at gunpoint. Like, she wasn't held at gunpoint originally. That they just like tossed the thing over to her and then grabbed her. Like, it made absolutely no sense for a scene in this movie other than to make her this like useless girl that needed saving.
I agree with you, especially if they're going to give her the opportunity and she fails. Like, why do that at all then?
Exactly.
It just makes her look even worse. You're right. If they would have just went straight to him, then at least he would have been like, oh, you suck. You can't do it.
Yeah, and it would also make sense with the theme that she's been held hostage this entire movie by like several different people. It doesn't make any sense that she wouldn't take it out and do it herself.
And he like saved her because she was freaking out. Like, I can't do it. He's like, she can't do it. I'll do it. Give me a chance. So he kind of like even like shut her down a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was so strange. Like,
yeah,
where did her training kick in this entire movie? That was just useless information.
Other than
all the other stuff that she helped solve was just because she was an intelligent woman and a member of the police already and had background
and
in
saw the writing beforehand and saw PS and thought PS stands for Princess Sofie.
That's all just her brain. That has nothing to do with any of the training that he gave her. It had no point in the story.
Wasn't there a song? There was something where she remembered a song that he would sing.
Lee was like, oh, I know some of the songs that they sang. And then he hummed one. And she was like, oh, that was one of the songs my grandfather sang. It had no meaning in the story.
Other than to prove that the guy is a private assignment. But whatever.
Yeah. So I just hated that scene so much. I thought that it brought the whole movie down, to be honest.
Did you like the fact that she was a descendant of Jesus?
I thought it was good. It made sense. But it was so strange to me. Like, why would they do that?
I like that as a plot twist. I liked it a lot. And I thought it was good to have a female, because why not, right? Because you want to do like females are great. But also the story that females are hated, females are persecuted, females are the reason that we're hiding this stuff. And the fact that it's her, that she's a female. Anything else that you want to talk about in your notes?
I also thought it was crazy that she did the entire like mission in like very large high heels.
And she had high heels all. You know what, dude? You see, like, those professional dancers, they, like, dance in high heels.
It was pretty amazing, honestly.
Yeah. So,
but she was, like, running and, like, sprinting and
she's
stuff.
French. European people. They're born in high heels, I think so. I don't know.
I didn't, like, do cops usually wear high heels?
That's the other thing. She wasn't on duty. So I wonder if she was, like, at a restaurant and found out about it and then came out.
You know, she was just wearing average clothes.
She's on a date. Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we get to the Bechdel test?
No, that's it.
Bechdel test is a test to check for female representation in movies. There are 3 criteria. Criteria number 1, are there 2 or more named females?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Sophia.
It's Sofie, yes.
Sofie. The grandma. Sophie's mom had a name.
If she didn't, yeah, okay. That's it. Only Sofie.
The nun.
The nun. Okay, the nun actually had talking.
And Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene was in the movie as a flashback. All right. Criteria number 2, do they talk to each other?
I do know Sophie talks to her grandmother. But I don't know about the next.
Criteria number 3, do they talk to each other about anything other than a man?
I don't know. I think they don't, though, because they're just talking about how, like, she's the descendant of God, I guess. But
I don't know if the grandma has a name. So
she's just grandma.
She's just grandma. So if she doesn't have a name, it does not pass the Bechdel test. Okay. That was pretty good. Anything else you want to talk about this movie?
Yes. About the relationship with the two main characters.
Okay.
I loved it.
They weren't a couple.
They weren't a couple. And I thought it made perfect sense because I saw no romance between them.
And didn't need it.
They didn't seem romantic with each other. It wasn't like they were falling in love during the story. They were just like solving the mystery together. And I think the fact that they didn't end up together or didn't like date or have any romance made so much more sense because the story really wouldn't have been able to like support a romance.
It didn't need it. Like so many other movies that we see don't need it, but they have it.
Often I feel like movies like shoehorn a romance in whenever there's a male and female character. I think that this movie did a good job of like making it. So
he does kiss her at the end, but he kisses her on her forehead, like a loving
they're
father.
European.
Well, he's American, but it wasn't a love kiss. It was a love kiss, but not in the way, not a romantic. No, he's also older than her, you know. So, but that hasn't stopped movies before.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's not a reason why it didn't have it. I liked it as well, and I like Tom Hanks. He's always good in every movie. And I like the actress. I thought she was really cute. Even though she had a smaller role than you would have liked.
She didn't even have her role completely could have supported what I wish the movie did.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you for tuning into Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast or like our podcast on YouTube. If you watched till the end of today's episode, comment down below the cross emoji.
We put out an episode every Monday.
If you want to see extra podcast content, follow our TikTok at Papi Approved Movies.
If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
That's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
We'll try our best to get to your suggestion.
And remember, it has to be PG-13.
I'll be back in 2 weeks to watch Taps.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye.